من وطن الكرامة.
Hello, welcome to Watan Karama News Channel. It is 9 p.m. our time for top stories and we start with the latest developments in Libya. Arab Libyan armed forces took control of Bibsi Street located in Boatni district in Benghazi. The General Command said that the military dome process announced by the Commander-in-Chief of the Arab Libyan Armed Forces General Khalifa Haftar with the participation of all land, sea and air military forces in Benghazi resulted in significant losses in ranks of the terrorist Daesh group. The General Command also noted that the Air Force launched intensive airstrikes on communities and positions of terrorist groups in Sidi Faraj and Boatni districts and with participation of distinguished pilots who were receiving training abroad. Commander of Air Force Operations for Dome Process, Colonel Pilot Mohammed Manfour, said that the Dome process aimed at freeing Benghazi from the remnants of terrorist militias. Manfour further said ground troops are advancing under Air Force cover and air monitoring of the operations results, adding that they managed to free huge areas without significant casualties in the ranks of the armed forces. A source said that the UN envoy to Libya, Bernardino Leon, left in a state of tension following insistence of the outgoing Congress on the amendment of the agreement which was signed in Sikhirat by all dialogue parties. The source noted that Leon's anger came as U.S. Ambassador Deborah Jones arrived in Sikhirat after she had left it about a week ago. Meanwhile, Chairman of the outgoing Congress, Nouri Abu Sahmin, called for withdrawal of Sikhirat and the suspension of the dialogue in protest at military operations conducted by the armed forces against terrorist groups in Benghazi. Parliament member of Al-40 or 40 committee Abdessalam Nasiya announced that the Commission has completed the modification of 4 supplements of the draft agreement received from the UN mission. Nasiya noted that the supplements that have been completed are the priorities of the National Unity Government, basic rules for the work of the State Council, a proposal for amending the Constitutional Declaration, as well as regulatory initiative for management of policy financial assets. He added that there are other supplements relating to names of the Prime Minister, his deputies and members of the government, as well as supplements of security arrangements. Nasiya noted that the Commission will present its observation to the Parliament's members during the next session. Spokesman for Parliament Faraj Bouhashim said that the Parliament condemned the statements of UN envoy to Libya Bernardino Leon concerning Benghazi battles between the armed forces and terrorist groups. Bouhashim noted that Leon's statements represent a clear contradiction between what comes out of the UN and Security Council. He stressed that the Parliament considered these statements as an acceptable interference in the internal affairs of the country, calling for the United Nations to put pressure on the party that seeks a dialogue failure. Parliament member of Benghazi, Isa Al-Arabi, called for stopping Sikhirat dialogue and moving onto the roadmap. Al-Arabi stressed the need to authorize a roadmap extending or renewing the Parliament mandate, as well as choosing a strong government that is in line with the Arab Libyan armed forces and supporting them in the war against terrorism in order to liberate the country. The United Nations Pressure Mission in the UN Security Council a draft resolution authorizing naval operations aiming at the control of the smugglers' boat in the international waters of the Libyan coast. Media sources confirm that the draft resolution may be voted on this week in a session during which the Council will discuss migration crisis. The draft resolution allows the arrest of the human smugglers in international waters of Libya and dismantling their boats. It also provides the UN member states with the right to confiscate the boats which are inspected and found to be in use of smuggling or trafficking of refugees from Libya. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with the President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, in Cairo to discuss regional concerns, including the current migration crisis and terrorism. The meeting comes hours after Egypt sworn in its new government, with many key ministers holding on to previous positions. Al-Sisi said, I discussed with the President of the European Council the visions and perspectives surrounding many important matters that are of concern to us. They include urgent matters such as the general situation in the Middle East and the situation in Libya and Syria, and urgent and important matters such as the refugee crisis that Europe is facing. For his part, Tusk condemned terrorism and showed support for Egypt's upcoming parliamentary elections. Tusk added that the European Union is committed to fighting terrorism with other partners. We will continue to do so based on the rule of law. Moreover, Tusk had summoned EU leaders to an extraordinary summit next Wednesday in September 23 to tackle the migration crisis. Now I will transfer to Yemen. Saudi coalition jets struck military targets in the Yemeni capital today. Residents said they'd caused damage to a military base as well as to military vehicles. Residents said smoke could be seen rising from Madrasat al-Haras district north of the capital, where several military bases and academies are based. A coalition of Sunni Gulf Arab states began airstrikes against the Houthis and allied forces in late March after they pushed from their northern stronghold towards the southern port city of Aden. In recent weeks, coalition air raids have intensified as a Gulf Arab ground force and fighters loyal to exiled President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi prepare a campaign to recapture Sana'a, seized by Houthi fighters in September 2014. The coalition sees the Houthis as proxies for Iran, which it accuses of trying to expand its influence into Saudi Arabia's Arab neighbors. Syrian refugees. German Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier met U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry today in Berlin to discuss the situation in Syria and handling of the refugees crisis, according to Berlin's foreign ministry. More than 20,000 migrants, many of them refugees from the Syrian war, have taken to Croatia since Tuesday, when Hungary used a metal fence, tear gas and water cannon on its southern border with Serbia to bar the routes into the European Union. EU, deeply divided, are due to meet on Wednesday in a fresh attempt to agree on how and where to distribute 160,000 refugees among their countries. The vast majority of refugees want to reach Germany, which has said it expects received 800,000 asylum seekers this year. Kerry has said that there is an urgent need to renew efforts to find a political solution to the war and worsening the refugees crisis. And now we transfer to Constitution in Nepal today. Nepal adopted its first democratic constitution today in a largely peaceful event, a historic step for a nation that has seen war, a palace massacre, and devastating earthquakes since a campaign to create a modern state began more than 65 years ago. President Ramperin Yadav promulgated the chartered intention to unite the country. There were reports of major violence today, through 3 people were wounded. The police fired at people trying to break a curfew in Bergenji in the south. In the capital Kathmandu, a crowd of more than 2,000 people cheered and took pictures of the Constituent Assembly building decked out in red and blue Nepali flag. The government says an imperfect document is better than nothing, and the Constitution can be amended to reflect the aspirations of the dissenting groups. And finally, from Greece, voting in Greece general elections ended today with an exit poll showing the leftist Syriza party of Alex Tsipras ahead of its main rival conservative New Democracy. A combined poll from 5 television stations said Syriza could get between 30 and 34% of the votes, with New Democracy in a range of 28.5% to 32.5%. The range left the door open for New Democracy to win but suggested it would be a struggle. If the result holds, a coalition could be needed for a government to be formed. The exit poll said that the far-right Golden Dawn would come third with 6.5% to 8%. A separate poll for Sky Television by University of Macedonia described as a voter assessment rather than an exit poll had the same finding. It said Syriza would get between 31 and 35%, with New Democracy getting 29 to 33%. My audience, that is a wrap-up of our top stories for today. For much more, you can check our website www.الكرامة.tv. Thanks very much for being with us. My greeting, رانيا البليدى.